Dear Lord, baby Jesus, or as our brothers to the south call you, Jesus, we thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell. I just want to take time to say thank you for my family, my two beautiful, handsome, striking sons, Walker and Texas Ranger, or TR, as we call him. And of course, my red-hot smoking wife, Carly, who's a stone-cold fox, who if you were to rate her ass on 100, it would easily be a 94. Also want to thank you for my best friend and teammate, Cal Naughton Jr., who's got my back no matter what.
Shake and bake.
Dear Lord, baby Jesus, we also thank you for my wife's father, Chip. We hope that you can use your baby Jesus powers to heal him and his horrible leg. And it smells terrible, and the dogs are always bothering with it. Dear tiny infant Jesus.
Hey, you know, sweetie, Jesus did grow up. You don't always have to call him baby. It's a bit odd and off-putting to pray to a baby.
Well, look, I like the Christmas Jesus best, and I'm saying grace. When you say grace, you can say it to grown-up Jesus or teenage Jesus or bearded Jesus or whoever you want.
You know what I want? I want you to do this grace good so that God will let us win tomorrow.
Dear tiny Jesus, in your golden fleece diapers with your tiny little fat balled-up fist pawing.
He was a man. He had a beard.
Look, I like the baby version the best. Do you hear me? I win the races and I get the money.
Ricky, finish the damn grace.
I like to picture Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt because it says, like, I want to be formal, but I'm here to party, too. Because I like to party, so I like my Jesus to party.
I like to picture Jesus as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.
I like to think of Jesus, like, with giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Leonard Skinner with, like, an angel band. And I'm in the front row, and I'm hammered drunk.
Hey, Cal, why don't you just shut up?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey guys, wanted to kind of share this clip with you. It's kind of something that's been on my mind for a while. I call it Ricky Bobby Theology, and basically there's three things in particular that I kind of want to point out here. Number one, I realize, well, let me start off this by saying I realize that this is a comical movie. It's not like it's, you know, anything serious or anything like that. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was funny. But it's really, this particular scene is really not that far off from what most people see when they see God. You know, they start off the prayer and they're talking about, you know, dear infant baby Jesus and stuff like that. And then Ricky Bobby makes this comment that he likes the Christmas Jesus best. And while I understand where he's going with this, there's a lot of people that do this, and we sometimes are guilty of doing this ourselves, of divorcing Jesus, or rather of seeing Jesus through the eyes of some commercialized picture as opposed to how he's revealed in his word. And Ravi Zacharias said it one time this way, you know, he described it as, you know, when we imagine our own Jesus, or we see him the way that we want to see him, oftentimes we create Jesus in our own image, and he attributes it to us looking in one of those, or us seeing Jesus in one of those carnival mirrors where everything is distorted, and, you know, the head is real big and the waist is small, and you know, the legs are real big again, and he's all short and contorted and things like that. And basically we're the ones controlling the distortions on this particular mirror. Aspects that we like, we have a tendency to enlarge, and aspects that we don't, we have a tendency to minimize. Particularly here in the West, we really have a tendency to minimize all of the passages where Jesus talks about hell or damnation or things like this, as if to say that those things are unloving. However, nothing is more unloving than for Jesus to know our ultimate end, and then to keep that from us because the information is somehow uncomfortable to us. And, you know, there's another part of this particular prayer that goes on where, you know, Kylie or Kari or whatever, the wife, she makes the statement, you know, I want you to do this prayer good so that God will let us win. And it's the idea that God is somehow our butler, that he is at our beck and call, that if we do this prayer good, if we go to church, if we do this and we do that, we can somehow bring God into obedience to us. And that is completely the opposite end of how this goes. We were created in God's image for His purpose. You know, at no point do we ever become the central focus of this whole thing, humanity, creation, and things like that. It's always about God. It's always about Christ. It's always been about faith. It's always been about His grace, His mercy, His love. It's always been about that. It's never been about us. But we really have a tendency to take the entire thing and wrap it around us, like God is somehow subservient to us, that if, as long as we check all these boxes, we can get Him to perform for us, kind of, you know, like a dancing monkey or something. We can play a little tune and then God will just perform for us, you know, and we get a little show out of it and we get the things that we want. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is do any of these things draw us any closer to God? Because if they don't, they're not blessings. If we go out and we buy, you know, that new gun or that new car, that new house, or whatever it is we're getting, if these are the things that we're praying for, and we're building up more and more things on earth here, Jesus warned that it's these things on earth that have a tendency to draw us away. Now, that's not to say that God is not a good Father, that He doesn't bless us. But if these things are not drawing us closer to God, then they're not of God. And we have to be careful of that, because we have a tendency to get drawn away by those things, as James says, that we ask and we receive not because we ask amiss, that we might, you know, waste these things on our own lusts and desires. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to point out kind of goes along with number one, with the whole baby Jesus thing, and it's where Cal Naughton is sitting there saying that that he likes to picture Jesus, you know, in a tuxedo T-shirt, and he says this, and this is really profound, you know, despite the fact that it's just a comical movie. He's like, you know, because I like to party, so therefore I like to see Jesus party. But do you see how that goes? And I understand that this is a movie. I understand that it's just comedy. But we have to also understand that this is a microcosm of how most people in the West view God, view Christ, that they like to party, they like grace, they like the law. They like things. They focus on certain aspects, so therefore God becomes that. He becomes a God after their own heart, instead of us taking on God's heart and us taking on Christ and being conformed to His image. And of course, Calnon goes on to talk about how, you know, he's picturing Jesus up there on stage with Leonard Skinner and, you know, an angel band, and he's down in the front row, hammered drunk, and you know, I mean, really? You get all that from the Bible? I don't think so. So, I would just encourage all of us to search the Scripture for how God reveals Himself. That is the surest way to make sure that we're not seeing God through a distorted mirror, and instead we're seeing God through the lens of the Bible, through a clear pane of glass. That distorted mirror, it only shows ourselves in disproportionate values, but that clear glass shows God as He is, as He reveals Himself. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. Hopefully you kind of pick up what I'm putting down. So, all right, God bless.